how many of you were asked to format everything every which way come Sunday, every time somebody wants a video? Is it vertical? Is it 16 by 9? The next panel is going to talk about formats, and it is a gymnastics feat, and that is why, thinking about summer camp, we want you to start to think vertical, and we're going to invite Dave Van Hoy and his team back to the stage, and then we're going to give you the challenge of finding where lunch is. Thanks.
Okay. Funny, feels like I was just here. I'm just really glad we didn't have to follow David Pogue directly. And I definitely don't play piano or sing like that. All right, so this is a super interesting group. One of the big topics today for all of us who are in media is, what direction is it going? Are we making 9 by 16? Are we making 16 by 9? People want to watch on these iPhones that David talked about at great length and other devices. These folks have to deal with this every day. You know, how do I make content that will play well for our audience, whether they're watching it on an iPhone, whether they're watching it on a TV, whether they're watching it on an iPad or some other device, whether they're flipping it sideways, whatever direction it's going. This is not easy, especially in live environments. So we'll go straight down the row, let each person do a quick introduction and what they do and where they're from. David?
Hi, I'm Dave Cherry. I am a creative director for video over at ServiceNow. I've done pretty much everything you can for video, whether it's sound, camera, and whatnot, and I convince some folks that I'm creative.
Hi, I'm Marc. A senior technical production manager at Twitch, and my background comes, like Dave, mostly audio, and then I've always been involved with video on the road, and here I am.
And I'm Casey. I'm co-founder and CTO of a company called Overlap, where we build AI agents for short-form video creation. So we work with a bunch of the biggest media companies in the world. And previously, I was a self-taught programmer, went to Stanford, dropped out, and then founded Overlap around 4 years ago.
The drop out of Stanford routine. You can do that again. So
Exactly. Yeah, we dropped out, went through Y Combinator, kind of the classic Silicon Valley pipeline.
there you go. Exactly. Love Y Combinator, especially the new place in San Francisco. It's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, Mr. Cherry, when I met you years ago, you were producing content at some company in Menlo Park. Then, you know, how has your world changed in terms of, you know, our world is no longer the 16 by 9 world. How has that changed your thinking as you think about your content production pipeline and how you tell the story?
Yeah, I remember we used to have to convince people to, you know, even when they're filming stuff on their phones, to try and flip it to landscape, but I think we all lost that battle. And so I think with the vertical video, at least to me, is like really starting at the beginning and making sure if someone's asking for it, that they really want it. I'm a big believer that in itself is a different format, so just, you know, scanning or panning or just like kind of cropping stuff, I don't think is really doing justice for the format itself, especially now, you know, when people are watching stuff that are 15 seconds, 30 seconds and stuff like that, and have the ability just to flick it away in a matter of moments. So to me, is like making sure that it's just purposeful for the project in itself. And I think a lot of the times people just want to make this kind of check mark of like, oh, I want this deliverable, I want this deliverable, I want this deliverable. But if they, you know, they're asking for something that is vertical, you know, really kind of thinking through, okay, how does this project, how do we want to tell this message through this format? So it's just not, you know, people just think that they're like, oh, we'll just do this one thing. But just to really kind of, you know, think of it from the ground up.
So, Marc, I'm really curious, in live production environments, I think this is particularly challenging because unlike Dave's environment where he gets to kind of think about this ahead and he gets to tweak his content in at whatever direction it's going. When I'm doing a live event production, I've got people I know who are going to watch vertically, people who are going to watch horizontally, and I've got a frame to decide what cut I'm making where. How has that affected what you're doing, and how do you guys think about that in your production now?
Yeah, so right now, obviously we know that most of the content that people are consuming live, short form content, it comes with a phone. And I think it's 70% of the people at least watching Twitch already come with mobile phones. So our challenge here is just have one single stream going to that device, and for the user, just choose if they want to go on 16:9 or 9:16. And here, what we try to do is, for now, we use the tools that the streamers are using. So it's not like something high-end, super nice equipment. It's just even open source software where we create the production in a regular video production machine, and then we send that feed there, and we can tweak in both versions. The magic of everything is how at least Twitch is using enhanced broadcasting. That is a new feature where we are in sending different transcodes in there. Also, there's the landscape and the portrait, a side of different resolutions, and we can use this system to just send one feed and have all these features on the palm of your hand.
Super interesting. All right, so Casey, I have to admit that before you landed on this panel, I didn't know what overlap was.
It's very fair.
So it's really interesting to me to look at the tech and what you're trying to do and how it affects how these guys would produce content. Tell us what you're going for there.
Yeah, and so what we've found and has really helped propel Overlap over the last few years is that across the country, these media companies are in this time of adaptation. In 2025 and very strongly in 26, they all have these media initiatives where they need to adopt vertical video and meet their audience where they are, and more importantly, to acquire new customers. And so where we come in is that they have these massive backlogs, this massive corpus of previous content. So like one of our customers is iHeartMedia, and they have decades of content from shows like The Breakfast Club. And if they don't repurpose that, they are, one, leaving a ton of great content on the table that they otherwise wouldn't be able to repurpose themselves because they don't have the manpower. But with our tool, what we've allowed them to do is, one, automate a lot of their social media work moving forward for new content, but then also monetize or re-monetize this content that's been sitting for a while. So these companies are generating tens of millions, some of them now billions of views every year that would otherwise be left on the table.
Super interesting. It's really difficult. Everybody thinks about, I go back into my archive, I get free money. Effectively,
Exactly.
I already own this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But the getting to delivery is not so easy. And that's what struck me as I began to learn about what your tools do. I am curious, are you seeing use of your tools in the spaces that, like for instance, where Dave plays today, where he's making material to be viewed by customers, but the material isn't the product? Unlike if I'm repurposing Happy Days. Mm-hmm. Do you see it in that environment as well?
Absolutely. I think video has proven in the last few years to be the strongest form of advertisement. So I think any company that's looking to invest in marketing, video comes top of mind. I think that's very true recently. So like a lot of the companies we work with aren't media companies, and they are tech companies that have a podcast and are looking to expand reach or something like that. And so they create these shows with vertical in mind, that it's shot maybe natively in landscape, but they need to do so such that it can be converted to vertical, it can be distributed across the socials, and that this is alternative advertisement spend for them. So instead of spending $100,000 on meta ads every year, they're going to cut that in half, and they're going to devote half of that to podcast production or something.
Super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Marc, as now as this world changes and we go back and forth, when you work with your team to go into pre-production, and do you think about different kinds of content? Are people more likely to flip different directions?
Yeah, it's very interesting this because of this technology that we were talking. So now I feel like we are in a very first state of this, I would call it disruption, right? So after 2007, with the first iPhone to now, I feel like it's time to be in that point where we can create or recreate this experience for the audiences. Live.
It's 21 years later, we think we might figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's about time, right? So what we do now when we produce the shows, it's obviously go to the safe spot, like, okay, whatever happens into the landscape version, we are going to go into the vertical. But because of this technology, we start exploring other ideas. So basically, we have an extra feed that we can give to the audience to be in a room like this, for example. Instead, we just have the landscape feed. We can have maybe the vertical feed with another camera from backstage, so we see what's going on backstage while a concert, a music festival. So you as a audience, you can just flip the phone and see another point of view of that thing that you are watching right now, or who knows? You know, creativity is endless.
I noticed that in a stream the other day where I just happened. I tend to like to watch video in 16:9. Old habits die hard.
I used to.
But then I just happened to flip the phone, and I realized there was an entire second feed, and I could see the stage and I could see backstage, and that was very interesting use.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously all the shows that I produce is representing Twitch. I have my own Twitch channel that I can experiment other things, but for these shows to the community of Twitch, we go to the safe place, as I mentioned, but we are exploring all these ideas for other cases.
So Dave, knowing this, is this affecting your choice of how you acquire, and your camera choices or your lens and framing choices? I know you really, you think of that in a very classic sense, and so how has that affected your thinking?
Yeah, I think especially too as that type of content, where the jump cut is so prevalent. I'm a big believer in direct to camera kind of camera angles because like it's easy to kind of jump in and out. It's a very personal format, and so I think that eye contact with the subject really kind of helps out with that. And then also too is, the more resolution, the better, because especially if you're reframing stuff and doing all that, I think that is like a key thing to have within there because, you can never use too many pixels.
And it feels like when you're in vertical, every shot's a close-up.
Yeah, every shot is a close-up, but I do think that there is ways for all of us in this room have years, decades of experience within there to kind of try and kind of blend those two worlds of taking learnings from all of these people who are creating this kind of vertical content, but kind of making it your own. I think the thing that kind of bothered me, but I think I'll get to it is when people holding the law there is like for years. We were trying to hide that thing, and then now they're putting it front and center. But I think, don't be afraid to take inspiration. But you don't have to copy. You can kind of do your own thing, experiment. It is definitely its own kind of box to be put in creatively. And there's so many different things. Whether it is exploring where you put graphics. Where the safe zones are. So many platforms have different places where they put their icons, where their play bars are and whatnot. And so really kind of figuring out, okay, if I put my subtitles here, will they get covered up by a description? Would I put my content here? Is it going to be really seen? Is it going to get hidden? Because Yeah, unless we're, just going raw with just the video on there. A lot of times we have messages that we need to get across. We have products to show. We have things that really kind of, we have to sell. So sometimes just having the face in there, it doesn't do it.
Yeah, no, I could see that. It's super interesting because it almost feels like you're producing the content twice, and the only thing that keeps it together is they have to stay in sync, because people will flip directions.
Yeah. So yeah, people will flip directions, but yeah, and it can be a big challenge because what works in one will definitely not work in the other. Of how you place it, how especially when you're dealing with graphics and whatnot, because if you need to have something that works vertically. So say if you're I work for a software company, we're showing software, so we have to show the mobile feed. And then if we go over to landscape, then it's probably best to show maybe more of a desktop look or to it. And so trying to realize, and when you're scoping things out for a project, to really kind of think about all that, because sometimes you'll go out and shoot or pull in the assets there, and you realize once you get into the edit that there's it's just not fitting, and so you have to either come up with creative solutions or spend more money, which the bosses don't like.
Rarely. So Casey, hearing what these guys are challenged with, as I looked at your tools, I'm curious how you would bring that into their environment. It looks like you mostly address the pre-produced content environment, and so how would you make Dave's job easier?
Yeah, I would say there are a number of solutions that we've had to wrestle with for a while over the last year or two. The biggest of which is vertical reframing. There are a bunch of papers that have come out from Google and Meta's labs, as well as a number of independent researchers, all of which kind of fall short. And so we had to train a few of our own video segmentation models for this purpose of graphics and making sure lower thirds get cut out for maybe news footage that's being repurposed or virtually recorded podcasts. There's just so many variables in video. And even with social safe zones and everything, there's just a lot of guardrails that we need to operate within. And so I would say within that regard, that's probably one of our main technological focuses, is just how can we have this single best vertical reframing across our competitors. And then in terms of kind of pre-produced and live content, we do also do a good amount of live content where we ingest content in real time, clip it in real time, and so as you're recording the landscape variants, the vertical variant is being created alongside it.
Okay, you got to improve the website because I didn't recognize that tool.
New product release.
You snuck that in.
Breaking news.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, I know we are getting close. People are getting hungry. And I believe somebody, you brought a demo reel, right?
Well,
Or a
it's
case
just
study?
a promotional video
Yeah.
just for this dual format.
Guess what, buddy?
I think they're going to run it.
Fire today. I'm on fire today, chat.
Oh my gosh, I think it's the
Don't tell me.
apocalypse.
Wait, after this, you can run a class in program and preview on a switcher. That's,
All right. Well, yeah, it's just a promotional video about dual format that we announced for all the streamers. That now it's for everyone to use. So, play the video.
all right, well,
Or at the end.
yeah, there we are. So while they try and figure out the video, we'll give them a minute. Questions? And I don't think we have anybody running around the audience with a mic this time, so you have to shout, raise your hand and shout really loud. I think they're too hungry. They've fallen asleep. All right. I guess they've all nailed vertical
They
video.
got it solved.
So,
It.
Marty, do we have any questions out there? I can't see into the lights.
Maybe I'll get right over here. Hold on. Coming on. Here you go. Sorry.
Hi, Casey. How did you guys arrive at what tools to use? What process did you go through? And is it still evolving today for your ultimate choice in what agentic AI?
Okay,
Using
Dennis,
it.
you have to say which person are you asking this to?
Oh, I'm sorry, to Casey.
Okay.
Yeah. So one, it's constantly evolving. The way we've built our product, which I personally am very proud of, the way we built it is that every part of our system is incredibly modularized. So the way that we find clips, for example, and identify moments has its own like memory and abstraction layer. The way that we reframe the content, everything is its own separate environment. And so it allows us to upgrade it really easily. So if, for example, if we use OpenAI for a certain part of our workflow to maybe enrich the metadata, and they release a new model, or Anthropic releases a new model, it's going to be really easy for us to change and really to like test in a production environment, in like a safe way. And in terms of other tools, we, for the most part, have built everything internally other than when we plug in foundation model providers. So that's why we've trained our own model for the reframing. We built our own video engine from the ground up. And so we'll leverage a lot of open source stuff as it comes out, but it's usually to improve existing systems that we've already built.
Other questions? They really want to go eat. So I do have one question for Marc before we go, which is, one of the things we've been asked to do the most has been to add vertical monitoring into control rooms. And I'm really curious, your thoughts on that.
Well, right now it looks a little weird what we do because I use OBS, Open Broadcast Software, to just see the two compositions, and from there I can just full
Run them
screen,
kind of side by side.
full screen on vertical, yeah. Before I was talking to Nick was around here. I'm not aware, or I'm start exploring which gear, hardware that are in the market to have the same solutions that we're trying to fight right now on control rooms.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and guys like Casey aren't making it easy for us because it comes out in different ways, and the monitors really aren't set for that yet. All right, last shot. Any questions? All right, then I think we will wrap this so we can get over for lunch, and I think Robin has a plan, wherever she is, for following the blue-shirted people over to where lunch is.